what has been an extremely robust observance of Women's Month in Belize. And I'd like to think that the National Women's Commission, the Ministry of Human Development, Families and Indigenous Peoples Affairs, and of course, the Office of the Special Envoy and the Special Envoy herself had something to do with it, you know. But since last November, during the observance of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, the National Women's Commission, under the leadership and guidance of Honorable Dolores Balderramos Garcia, Minister of Human Development, Families and Children, and Indigenous Peoples Affairs, decided that our fight against inequality, inequity, discrimination, and violence against women and girls in Belize would be relentless. Our promise was to fight beyond 16 days and to ensure that the advocacy, the education, and programs would tackle it year-round. In keeping with that promise, this March, for Women's Month, we committed to #breaking the bias that keeps women back from realizing their full potential and representation at all levels of decision-making in Belizean society, government, and the workplace. This month, and for the first time, a motion was passed at the House of Representatives condemning gender-based violence, and those honorable men and women declared a zero tolerance for violence against women and girls. That same day, Minister Dolores declared that the process to pardon Nora Parham posthumously had been set in motion. And while today, government has ensured that women are represented at various stages of decision-making, women representation is still lacking in the legislative branch. And we have worked tirelessly with our minister and the ministry, and with the Special Envoy and her office, and the UN agencies, and all our stakeholders. But this is not nearly enough. Women are still subject disproportionately to feeling the negative effects of gender-based violence, poverty, unemployment, and underemployment, and even climate change. Rural and indigenous women, those women who live with disabilities, and our LGBTQ+ sisters are even more vulnerable groups. Just this month, there has been a report of violence against women where two women who are in a relationship alleged that they were beaten by family members, no less. Recognizing these needs and the gaps that exist in our society is really just the start. We must reset or reboot the mindset that promotes and encourages discrimination and division in our society. Bias is learned, and we must do our best to unlearn such dangerous and divisive conditioning which exists under the guise of traditions and culture. We must instead teach a culture of love and inclusivity, respect and fellowship. And that brings us back to the reason we're here today. The women here today are examples of selfless devotion to the work that breaks down bias and promotes cultures and attitudes that make Belize better and stronger. And so today we recognize them for the work they do and the difference that they make to our society. I take this opportunity to once again welcome you and to thank you for your continuous collaboration in our relentless fight against bias. Thank you.